What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here. And, you know, I woke up. I got all dressed and was just lying around and, well, I just laid around and just happened to be watching YouTube videos. And I wasn't expecting this. The WWE are morons. The World Wrestling Entertainment, a company that is currently worth $3.77 billion, just did one of the absolute most unacceptable things they have the biggest talent pool imaginable, and they don't use their talent. Think about this. Just think about this for a second. Think about this for a second. They sign all these indie stars, right? And these indie stars are like, all right, I'm working for the biggest company, for the biggest wrestling company in the world, and they're gonna use me, and I'm gonna make some money off of it. And then what happens? A month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They do not use them, and then they end up releasing them in what they call, and folks, trust me, a company that is worth $3.77 billion doesn't have to do budget cuts. What budget do they need to cut? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They don't have to cut anything. But yet they do. So we had a lot of people. Well, we had Black Wednesday. We had way back in the day Black Saturday. And Black Saturday was where a whole lot of people got released at once, and the WWE released a whole lot of people at once on a Wednesday. Okay. Now that I've set the stage, let's talk about Husky Harris, otherwise known as Bray Wyatt. Let's talk about Bray. Bray debuted for the company in 2000 and... well, it would have had to have been 2010. I know he debuted in 2009, but he was known as the military tank with a Ferrari engine or something like that. So Husky Harris went nowhere. Then they take Husky Harris off TV and repackage him as Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt could have gone somewhere, but Bray Wyatt went nowhere. So they take Bray off of television to repackage him as a jolly good Mr. Rogers and have a sadistic twist to it where there's this entity called the Fiend, and Bray hangs out with a whole bunch of puppets, and all the kids are saying, "Yippee!" And then you have the Fiend, and the Fiend is supposed to protect Bray and the Fun House and everything like that. Then you get to the bread and butter, which is the Fiend sells nothing. The Fiend takes, well, let's just take Seth, for example. Let's take Seth Rollins. The Fiend takes 11 curve stomps from Bray. Well, yeah, okay. Seth Rollins does 11 curb stomps to the Fiend, and the Fiend no-sells him. He would kick out at one every single time. However, in true WWE fashion, they screw that up too! They add Alexa Bliss, which is cool. The Fiend gets incinerated and he comes back all charred, and you're thinking the Fiend is going to kill Randy Orton. It's going to be a one-sided match. And what do we get? We get one RKO. And we get a 1, 2, 3. And now Alexa Bliss has all the Fiend's powers, which makes absolutely no sense. And I understand that once Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, died, I understand that Bray was having a really tough time. But this, I've watched Raw, I've watched NXT, I've watched SmackDown, I've watched Impact, I've watched AEW. Bray was the only good part about SmackDown! For the longest time, he was the only reason why I would tune in to SmackDown. I mean, it may have been a cinematic match, but he beat John Cena. And you don't beat John Cena unless John Cena wants you to go over. And here's the thing. Budget cuts? Let's talk about budget cuts. You only do budget cuts when they are necessary. But when you have a company that is worth $3.77 billion, there's no need for budget cuts. It's just a PR-friendly way of saying, yeah, we're gonna let you go, but we're gonna give the masses a complete garbage reason on why you're out. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to leave. This is by far, this trumps my Brock Lesnar rant when he was Universal Champion. And let me tell you why this trumps it. This trumps it because not only was Bray Wyatt a great hand, he was great on the mic. He had an aura about him which made you want to see him night after night after night. He even held the WWE Championship 3 times on 3 different occasions. But in true WWE fashion, in true Vincent Kennedy McMahon fashion, whether it's falling out of love with a particular star which you were pushing, and then you just decide, I don't like him anymore, so I'm just going to stop pushing him, or whether it's tearing up Raw or SmackDown scripts, or whether it's just Vince McMahon making no sense. The WWE seem to mess up everything, and they want to know, and they spin their wheels, and they wonder why nobody's watching their programs. It's because look. Raw is 3 hours. And Raw is hell when it comes to 3 hours. They should have just stuck with 2. They should have just stuck with 2. And, Raw would be good at 3 hours. Raw would be good at 3 hours if there was something to keep me interested. But Raw, no. They are pushing Nikki Cross as a babyface known as Nikki ASH, which stands for almost a superhero. Nikki, almost a superhero. What happened to the twisted sister of NXT that would scream like a freaking banshee? But they repackage her. Why? To make her kid friendly. Wrestling was never supposed to be kid friendly in the first place. Professional wrestling started out in the carnivals, and then it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and you had this